Hi, this is Mary from the Daily Sew. I get a lot of questions about patterns where the seams don't line up, and the way to fix that is to true your patterns. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do that so that all your sewing projects turn out great. Let's go. So, I've copied off a front bodice piece and a sleeve piece from a tunic pattern. This pattern includes the 1/2-inch seam allowance. And this is what trips up a lot of folks. Basically, I'm going to be showing you the what not to do first, but I want you to see how easy it is to make this mistake. On the bodice pattern, I have the shoulder seam, the armhole notch on the front, and the side seam. And on the sleeve here, we have the shoulder seam and that front armhole notch. And there's the side seam by my thumb there. So lay down one of the pattern pieces on top of the other as if you were sewing the pieces together. Start at a notch, because you know that pattern pieces are supposed to meet at notches. So here we're starting at the front armhole notch. With your finger or the tip of a pencil or other pointed object, you're just going to pivot that top piece so its outer edge follows the outer edge of the bottom piece. And you can see it's way too big here. It doesn't match. So remember, this is with the seam allowance. Back to the notch, realign the pieces and walk the pattern's outer edge up to the shoulder seam, the same way you did down to the side seam. And again, it doesn't match. It's way too big. So let's draw in the seam allowance. And then I'm going to show you the correct way to true a pattern. Okay, let's bring those notches down too, and you want them on the seam line. Again, you're going to lay one pattern piece on top of the other as if you were sewing them together. Starting at the notch, but this time on the seam line and not on the outer edge of the pattern piece, you're going to pivot that top piece and walk it down following the seam line to the side seam. Oh, boom! Both pieces match. They end at the same point. And this is what matters when you sew. So back to the notch. And let's start walking your pattern up to the shoulder seam, following the seam line. So we know that the armhole and the sleeve seam from the front notch down are equal or are true. And that's good. They should be equal. Now usually the notch at the top of the sleeve cap indicates the shoulder seam. However, you might want to check your pattern to be sure. Especially if you've got two notches up there, just look through the instructions and find out what each notch is for. It's still too big. But that's okay here because I know that this sleeve, a set-in sleeve, has ease in the cap. I'm going to be putting in my stitches here to ease that extra sleeve fabric into the shoulder seam. This extra 1/4 inch is part of that ease, and it needs to be here. So look at the style of your pattern as well. Remember that most set-in sleeves, they will have extra fabric from the front armhole notch to the back armhole notch, especially from the shoulder notch to the back. That's where you need more ease in order to move your arm up and down when you're wearing the garment. That makes sense, right? A pattern made from stretch fabric or for stretch fabric is unlikely to have that ease. So what if you have a dart? So let's just draw a dart in here. Just random dart. And you'll remember that the seam line on a dart is going to look a little like this. To true the side seam or any seam that has a dart or a pleat or a tuck, you're simply going to fold the pattern as if it was fabric and you were stitching that dart or pleat or tuck shut. Tape that dart closed, and then when you walk the seam line, it's going to stay closed and this gives you a more accurate seam length. So here's the takeaway. When you're truing a pattern, you're going to walk the stitch line only. This is the part that you're sewing, and this is the part that matters. But you can see how easy it would be to walk the outer edge of a pattern, especially if the seam allowance is included. It's just a really easy oversight to make. Well, I hope you found that video helpful. You can find more information about truing your pattern on my blog, and the link is in the description below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Take care. Ciao.